The Lannis king then now confronts Jon Snow regarding the attempt to marry into Daenerys Targaryen's chance of having the throne. So, what's it like to be dead and risen? I mean, I would not know because I've never had this happen. He doesn't say anything. I mean, certainly this is not something you had expected either. Weren't you supposed to be stabbed over and over again by various people of the Black Watch? It is true, this did happen. And yet, here you are, and you stand. And did you not think that, even though my cousin, the other former Lannis king, though he was executed for probably treacheries he did, and again, I was not here to see this, so I can't say one way or another, whatever is done, but that this would not be discovered. At the time, it didn't seem like it was important or it would count for anything since he was dead. Yes, but so were you. So in which case, you being risen back to life. I'm not saying I condone what the woman in red did, but her grievance is strictly between you and her. Apparently you cast her out because of her religious practices. Again, I don't condone such things either. And I've already told her that if I ever hear of her putting somebody, or even a child for that matter, to burn at the stake, that she will meet the end of my sword, and she has sworn, which I'm holding her to, that this will never happen. Well, what would you have me say? How about that you acknowledge that the throne is no longer under claim? Obviously, you can't claim it, and we've already removed the one who thought she had a claim. Your marriage is now dissolved or annulled, and therefore the throne is now open. What are you going to do? Just take it? No. I believe in traditions, just as my cousin did. Granted, the temptation is there, but that is not what I want. I don't want to be dethroned the way I had her dethroned. I believe that everybody needs to lay their claims out on the table. When everybody sees that mine is the greater claim, then they will come to follow me, and then I will have the throne. You, in the meantime, have no business here now. You violated a pact that you made with my cousin long ago. So, it is time for you to move on. I think that in time, perhaps you may come to appreciate this as a positive outlook. And what's so positive about breaking up the love of two people? Well, first of all, you're just a nephew. She's your aunt. Granted, you both are Targaryens. The fact that they call you Jon Snow, which makes you a bastard, is something that I find a little bit unusual. But then again, I could see that if you never got to know who your mother was, perhaps your mother was also the sister to Daenerys. This is the only way that would make sense for you to be a nephew. The question is, why or how would something happen to your mother? I have not yet figured this out, as I have still a lot to learn from the scrolls that are in the Lannis kingdom of the House of Lannis. But I will learn much as I will continue reading when time allows. So therefore, by decree of our factions put together, and as the leader of the allies, I hereby decree that you are stripped of the land and title, never to having a claim to the throne, just to ensure there is no treachery or trickery on your part. I never cared for wars anyway. I didn't want this, and I didn't ask to be brought back. No, you didn't, and I will give you that. So, do you have any plans? My plans are mine and mine alone, but I will not return. Everything that has happened has not gone well as far as I'm concerned, and I have no reason to stay anyway. Well, that is good then. But we want to make sure that you don't have second thoughts. So even though you might find this distasteful, we're going to ensure that you are escorted out, so that if you should make the wrong move, it doesn't matter which way you turn, you would be run through. And since you are greatly outnumbered, you might only get a few of us, but you would not live, and again you will die. But then again, you could live out the rest of your days and enjoy life, which was taken from you wrongfully by the Black Watch. I don't see you returning there. No, I have no intention of going back there at all. Very well then. I shall make the preparations for your departure. And so with that, the Lannis king then goes off to get things set to make sure he's escorted out, so that if he was to try anything, it wouldn't matter which way he turned, left, right, forward, backwards. Spears would be moving in such a way with him yet, like, he's moving through the spheres to make sure that he didn't try to turn around or try something. And so this ends the scene of the preparations of Jon Snow's being stripped of land and title. Narrators know if a child's involved, the Lannis King also gives him the opportunity to take any child born or conceived before marriage, since there wouldn't have been time to do it at the time of marriage, to take the child and raise the child of his own, because he's not one to kill a child, but others from the beyond the known world are willing to do so as a symbolic gesture that no heir should ever take the throne, as an aid and support for his claim. So, if such a child is in existence, depending on what the Series 8 comes out to, he agrees to take the child and raise the child as his own, because technically the child would be, as the child was born of both him and Daenerys. Tyrion is then sitting alone in another part of the palace, reflecting on everything that had been told him regarding his being Hand of the Queen being stripped of him. Quietly, Lord Varys enters the room and sees him sitting alone. He watches him at first and doesn't say nothing, then slowly steps forward and sits down. Tyrion looks over at him. You know she blames me for all this. Does she? Well, there's the fact that somebody had to take the blame. And of course, it's just normal for me to always get the blame. It's always my fault. Well, perhaps she only said these words in haste. You must see things from her point of view. This was something that was not expected. She was to have the Iron Throne, and technically she's only had it for 3 days. Yes, I understand. And you're right. But I don't know, maybe I did make some mistakes along the way. I thought it was in good interest of the people to make friends with the enemy, to smooth things over. In Mareen, she did let this go once, even when we were under attack. And now I don't think she's going to let this one go or let me live this one down. So has she totally forbidden you to see her again? No. She said that she just doesn't want to see me now. She's not forbidding me to visit her, but I'm to remain here. So you are, I take it, no longer Hand of the Queen. No, that has been stripped of me. He looks down solemnly. You know, there is much to be learned here, and I do not speak ill on this. I think this is like one of delicate politics. If you give it time, perhaps things will smooth over. She'll have had her time of mourning, and eventually you could request an audience of her to merely just visit, be friends. Friendship is always good. To not have friends is to be like in a desert where there's no water. Well said. And one without water cannot survive, for they would dehydrate and surely perish. Yes, indeed. You know, as your friend, I would advise you to only do what is good for your well-being. You still are a lord, and of the family of Lannisters. So you're not exactly totally stripped of everything. You still have your position, your health, and your nobility and dignity. Well, thank goodness I have some things. He takes up a wine glass and takes a swallow of some wine. You know, not that one would intrude or purposely spy upon you, but I believe there's someone that has caught your eye. Yes, I hadn't given much thoughts since the last one that I had trusted. But there is, I guess, as you've noticed, someone who's caught my eye. Yes, well, what I understand, you've kind of caught hers as well. Really? Somebody's actually interested in me? I'm not trying to laugh at you, Tyrion, but yes. I mean, granted, you are, well, being a dwarf is not a total loss. You, in your younger days, um, have caught many women's attention, have you not? Yes, that is true. Well, this one here, she goes by the name of Marcella. Perhaps you might get to know her better. Um, she could prove to be quite the relation that you might have with her and fill a void that you might have in your heart right now. I suppose you're right. I can't sit in my sorrows forever. Life must go on. That is true. So, why don't you, I don't know, see if she would be interested in joining you for dinner? Maybe talk things over. Compare notes with each other. See what interests you may or may not have. And of those that are the strongest in common, perhaps something will build. In time, all will be well. Yes, you are right. So with that, he takes his advice, and thus ends the great confidence of his friend, Lord Varys. Meantime, at sea, it is quite the voyage, and hardly anyone is saying anything. Everybody is in either deep thought, and those that are injured are being, as best as possible, taken care of. Missandei, who has always been close to Daenerys, not to act in a treacherous way, but in a way to not draw attention to herself, yet do certain actions that are in support of Daenerys, calls a meeting below decks. I've called you all here because not to act in a treacherous way, but we must realize that for the next few days, our queen may not be herself. Well, what you mean, Grey Worm asked. Well, as you can see, she's never lost. And this is the first time experience that she has lost. If we want to get technical, it would be a second. But I, like you, we were slaves at the time. We did not know anything about her first husband, this Drogo, who was of the Dothraki, who had been betrayed by a sorceress. At that time, she was not yet the mother of dragons. But the legends have been told, and so we all have learned. But it's going to be probably a walk of tears, of sadness, for her getting back to the Pyramid Palace. We should all try to do our very best not to upset her, do our job as we usually do, and to also show support for our queen. While she may not hold the Iron Throne of Swords for the realm of the kingdom and be a supreme queen, she is still queen, nevertheless, of Mareen. Our queen. Everybody seems to agree to this. I will do my part as best as I can, because I am her trusted handmaiden. She's always trusted my counsel and my support. The rest of you know your place and the things that you must do. By working together, not that anyone isn't doing their job, but it will make things for her easier until such time she's had her time of mourning for the loss of this great defeat. So I just want to make sure that everybody knows that we should do our part. So, not to give her any reason to be upset with us and make things easy for her. Are we all agreed? Everybody agrees again. Well, that is all I wanted to mention, unless there be anything else that needs to be brought up. Nobody seems to say anything. Very well, then. Then this meeting is over. And so everybody breaks and goes above decks. In the meantime, Daenerys sits in solace, as if she sees something from afar off, but it's like a daze. Like everything that happened has put her in such a state that she would be either daydreaming or in a hypnotic-like state. Missandei eventually comes above decks and approaches her somewhat cautiously. My queen, are you alright? She gently lays a hand on Daenerys' shoulder, which startles her. She looks up at Missandei. Oh, I'm fine. You seem to be deep in thought. Yes. I'm wondering if the gods have abandoned us. Well, maybe, if you would permit me to speak freely. Yes, you may. What if maybe we acted too soon? Do you think that would be a reason that the gods would have abandoned us? Daenerys didn't even think about that. Perhaps you're right. Maybe if we would have waited a few days longer, perhaps the gods would have given us a sign. I know long ago, when I was with my husband Drogo, I saw a red comet. And it was very intriguing because I've always been fascinated by the stars of the heavens and what mysteries lay beyond them. I guess I've always had this fascination since I was a very young girl growing up. And seeing the red comet and knowing that symbolism is everything, it told me it was my time to rule. You know, Daenerys, that prophecy did come true. Has it? Well, you may not have the Iron Throne, but you do rule Mareen still, don't you not? Yes, you are right. When I return to Mareen, though I've told this one knight, who I had to break off the feelings that he had for me, that he should find another to rule Mareen, I would be taking my rightful place back, provided they let me. I'm sure they would. They all love you here. Yes, I suppose you're right. In spite of my failures, they will not look at this as a failure, Daenerys. She brushes some of Daenerys' hair back beyond her shoulder. Perhaps sometimes to lose is to learn. Really, I've never heard it that way. You do speak words of wisdom again, Missandei. Well, I figured you chose me for a reason. Yes, I did. Not just for friendship, but because you do have words of wisdom. Well, I think that you'll find that those of us here on the ship will make your job easy. We will do our best to not make you upset because we know that you will be going through a time of mourning for this loss because you never have lost like this before. And those in Mareen will welcome you back and they will continue to love you. Yes, and I do love each one of them because of the love they show for me there. So, in a way, you have the prophecy fulfilled since the time you were with what, your Dothraki husband, Drogo, right? Yes. Well, then that prophecy has been fulfilled. It is your time to roll. But the one for the Iron Sword, or Throne of Swords, perhaps that sign has not yet come up. Perhaps it was maybe a little too soon, and perhaps the sign will come. I can't say this for certain because I, unfortunately, being your handmaiden, have no gift of this vision of foresight. That is true. Well, I think eventually you are going to gain strength, Daenerys. You may not see it now, but it is not over. You have a long life ahead of you. And I hope that my words will have given you some comfort. It has. As always, you always speak well. And I've come to appreciate every time that I'm able to confide in you or that you give me these words of wisdom. Well then, she puts her arm gently around Daenerys' shoulders. Then you have nothing to worry about. Your time will come. It just wasn't time yet. But we are not ashamed of you. You are our queen. We will obey any command you give. And I appreciate that. Well then, I will continue to let you have your time of solitude and meditations. And if you need anything, I won't be far off. All right. Well, thank you, Missandei, for giving me this, again, words of encouragement. And so with that, Missandei gets up slowly and leaves, looking back at Daenerys to ensure that she is okay. And she is, again, staring straight out at sea, deep in thought, and then goes to a different part of the ship. In this next scene, it now comes to former King Tommen's cousin. I see we have a scroll. Where'd this come from? His wife then enters the room. I don't know. It was handed to me, but I didn't read it because I wasn't sure if I should or not. It seemed to be of grave importance for you. So he opens the seal, and then he reads it. My cousin is dead. I'm so sorry, my husband, King. I've been invited to take up the task and opportunity, though it's usually rare, that I should follow in the footsteps of King Tommen's, because right now there is nobody on the Iron Throne, while many others will have to straighten out who has the rightful claim to the Iron Throne. Word has it that there was some lady by the name of Daenerys Stormborn Targaryen. I'm not sure who she is. I've never met her. And she has been forced off because of some treacheries regarding a savage race of people they call Dothraki. Sounds really bad. And it was her very first loss. It was quite the mass battle. And eventually these large, massive forces, plus some that come beyond the known world, will be eventually breaking apart and going their separate ways. But in the meantime, the throne remains empty. I think what I will do is I will accept this offer, because even if we are not meant to keep the Iron Throne, it is only merely to fill the position, as we have our own affairs here, and it's not like we would be losing anything anyway. But for the time being, it is our duty to protect the realm by sitting at the throne. Well, I agree with you. So you will go ahead and respond to this then? Yes, I think I will. Could you do me a favor, my beloved? Could you have someone prepare a document accepting the invitation and that I and you will assume our duties at King's Landing in the throne room, and I will take the throne because it has been presented to me, and that since I do not have any, in my opinion, rightful claim to it, at least not that I am aware of, that I shall fulfill that position until such time that they decide someone who is got a rightful claim to the throne makes a valid claim. All right, I will go ahead and have someone write this up. Thank you. And so they give each other a kiss, and she takes her leave, and he continues thinking about the scroll that had come to him.